Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog. Our guest today is my good friend, super manager, great businessman, Erich Gail. Hello, Erich.
Hi, good morning, Jim. How are you?
Oh, I'm having the best day of my entire life, but I am anticipating a better day tomorrow.
Amen.
Erich, you're with the Cardinelli Group. You're with ZMOT. You're with any number of entities. Tell me about yourself.
Well, Jim, we are blessed as a collection of companies to own and operate our automotive group with 19 locations in the three Western United States, California, Arizona, and Nevada. We have an exciting collection of supporting companies that we've built, Jim, over the years, really by necessity to serve our interests as a dealer first and foremost. And when they've matured and served us internally, and they've grown up, we allow them to go outside of our competing market areas and serve our fellow dealers in parts of California, in the United States and Canada and in pockets of Mexico.
Really? Yeah. That's incredible. And so I understand you're the number one internet dealer in the world. Is that true?
Well, I wish I could say the world. It's a very exciting accolade for us, Jim. Awards in 2017, based on our 16 performance, we're about to submit for what was 17, ranked us as the number one highest sales volume e-dealer in North America.
I don't think anybody in Europe or any other country. So, a matter of fact, I'd go as far as to say the universe. They might sell cars on other planets. I think we're kicking butt. You know,
we try to stay focused on one unit at a time, Jim.
Number one e-dealer in the country. Now, how many units would that represent for internet sales?
Well, for us last year was about 25,000, and we're looking this year, it may not have a 3 in front of it, but it may be closer to 28,500.
28,500 out of 19 locations? And that's attributed to your internet, not your other retail sales. That's
correct.
Just your internet generated.
And as you know, Jim, what's important for us is to recognize that, based on the challenges that we overcame back in 08 and 09, when it came to 2010, and we were blessed with a second lease on life, we really had very finite resources. We didn't have the cash and capital to be able to be all things to all people like we were back in the day.
Didn't you start the company in 2008 at the worst part of the recession?
Now, we were founded in 1979. I
know, but didn't you start your growth period?
Yeah, 2010 was our second lease on life.
That's what I'm saying. I knew you were in existence before that, but as far as your accelerated growth, 2010, I mean, that was the height of the recession.
Yeah, Jim, we found ourselves in a position to where we hemorrhaged in 2008 and 2009, and it is purely by the grace of God that we survived. And so in 2010, when we were given a second lease on life, we had some very difficult decisions to make. Where were we going to invest in our future? What process disciplines and practices were we going to employ in which to ensure that we never again, like we found in 08 and 09, that we would never again be subjected to the market? So we developed an entire management philosophy about being management driven. And Jim, what that says is that we're not interested in the conditions of the market anymore. The reason for that is because if the market improves, if the market is up, what do we need as dealers? We need more people, more stuff, more things. And if the market shifts and we're bloated, we can't scale fast enough to stop the hemorrhage. So our belief is that as a management-driven organization, we define our own goals and our own objectives, irrespective of the condition of the market. If the market is down, but our objective is to be up 6, 7, 8, 9%, that's what we're going to do. And we build the operation in which to support that.
That's good news, because most experts agree we're entering into a contraction of the market, that there's going to be a slowdown in the next couple of years simply because of oversaturation of sales. And what that's going to mean is the winners are going to continue to win and the losers are going to lose more. If you're going to do business in the coming months, you're going to have to take that business away from a competitor that has that business. And I'm not saying dealerships have to fail or fall back, but you've got to be sharper. You've got to be better trained. You have to have more precise processes. You've got to live by your CRM. Dealers are, right. I said it in a previous broadcast, and I'll say it to you. The last couple of years, you could put a monkey with a note in his mouth in the middle of a Toyota lot and sell 20 units a month.
Right.
It didn't take any skill. These fools thought they did it. But now we're going to have to be sharper and better. And that's what I believe Cardinelli is preaching here. Talk to me.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct. Some of the jokes that we try to use to lick our wounds from back in the day is that what we found ourselves as an industry, and specifically us as an organization in '07, Jim, we were rich and good looking, right? We were all making way too much money, that we weren't in enough pain to recognize that we had let our disciplines and we had let our operations become soft. And when '08 and '09 smashed down on us all, it was the groups that exist still today that are far larger than they were back when, who grew during that recessive period because they had built their operations with a fortress balance sheet and a fortress dealership mentality that they were ready. And our truth is that we have spent the last 8 years building for what happens when the market constricts. And let me share with you additional insights on that. For the dealers on this broadcast, ask yourself this: am I built to be profitable at a high net to gross in my worst month of the year? And if the question is yes, I am, then what you do is you scale above that, but you never let yourself get bloated and out of shape to where if you hemorrhage in your worst month of the year and the market constricts, that's a telltale sign to where you sit. We focus a tremendous amount of effort and energy every single day onto the clonable, repeatable, singular things that drive opportunity immediately for tomorrow in all departments. And one other thing that I would offer, and Jim, I know we'll touch on more of this, is the importance of being 100% absorbed. The dealers that were kind enough when we came out the other side in early 10 shared that how they were able to not only survive but thrive in '08 and '09 is that they were running 100, 102% fixed absorption. Their entire operation was built on this Gibraltar rock of strength and financial fortitude that allowed them to weather any storm. The variable operations, as a result of it, they tightened, okay? And they were very, very sharp, very disciplined operators. And that is absolutely the key, I believe, in which to say when the market constricts or shifts, and I'll talk about the shift in just a second, I say that we should champion bring it on. We're ready. We've built for this moment.
Bring it on. I got to tell you, you got a little echo happening on your speakers there, Eric.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Is that better now?
One thing about the market constricting, we've sold 17 million, 16.8 new cars every year, 43 million used cars. That's been what, the last 6-7 years?
Right.
There's only 200 million licensed drivers in the United States. We've been cramming right at 60 million cars a year into 200 million qualified buyers. The economy is booming, but that doesn't mean the car business isn't going to constrict simply for saturation with 84-month financing and all the things we've done that have ruined the cycle.
Right.
What's going to happen now is the winners are going to win. And technology is going to be the answer. I'm saying right now, you talked about constricting, and what was the other one?
I'm sorry?
You said the market is constricting and shifting.
Correct. The
shifting is to technology.
Well, there's a duality here. The shifting is, let's assume, because there's varying opinions on whether we're a 43 or a 48 million unit a year industry when you factor in pre-owned. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's just say that if and when the SAR, as it continues to right size itself, I think that we shift from what was 16.9 million new, right? I don't think that that comes off of pre-owned sales. I think it's just a different type of purchase transaction. But for us as the retailer, I think our opportunities remain pure so long as we are disciplined enough to be technologically savvy, to target the in-market buyer, to treat every single direct action as a buyer, knocking on the glass, welcome them as a guest in our home, and complete that all the way through the transaction where we're not selling, Jim. We're helping people finish what they started. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense to me. Now, you know, when you say 50 million cars, you got to factor in private sales.
Correct.
I mean, sales that weren't in the statistic.
Sure.
And when you factor in sales that weren't in the statistic, it comes out to about 43 million used.
Right.
So, you know, you still got to say that's a buyer out of the market, whether they bought a car privately or from a dealer.
Right.
We're really talking 60 million sales a year for the last 5 years.
Right.
200 million qualified buyers.
Yeah.
84-month financing.
Right.
We are, even in a booming economy, we are going to see a constriction of sales this year starting and accelerating for probably 3 years. And if you don't take that business away from somebody, nobody says you have to die, but you crush or be crushed right now.
Correct. I absolutely could not agree with you more. What we're going to enter now over the next couple of years will be the have and have nots. Those who did and those who didn't. Because if we're going to try to resuscitate disciplines and in-store process to have a razor's edge to them where there's a guest in our home focus and you have an ecosystem built inside your stores where there is a continuum between sales and service and you're not eroding your customers off to others then to have them taken away, those will be the organizations that will thrive. And while others are panicked in their conference rooms trying to figure out what are we going to do now, the ship has already sailed, and those who have been working diligently for the past many years to sharpen their in-store processes will do extremely well.
You've got to have fast loading, high conversion websites. The website is the showroom, and the website is the battlefield, and Google is the weapon.
Correct.
I mean, and there are so many dealers that are technologically challenged in their operations and technologically resistant, where they've got, you know, everybody knows I'm a senior citizen, but I have evolved with the technology.
Right.
You know, I'm still teaching social media and internet to young people.
Right.
So many dealerships have not evolved with the technology. They're run by old car dogs with old car dog mentality, and they didn't shift with the new paradigms.
Yeah. Jim, it's called digital Darwinism. It says
I love it.
Those who fail to adapt to the change in the information age are doomed to extinction. And one of the things that we use as a call to action to ourselves every single day to keep ourselves in check on what must be a world-class operation at all points throughout the organization is that in order to achieve the results that we have never achieved before, we have to have the courage and be willing to do the things that we have not done before. It is with that as a North Star that we will continue to grow.
You know, Jackie B. Cooper, I don't know if you know who that was.
I do.
Jackie B. Cooper was a friend of mine. I mean, he wasn't like a stay over at my house sort of friend. He was a business friend. I could talk to him. I knew him. You know, it just, he died fairly broke. And the reason was he never rewrote the book.
Right.
And, you know, I grieve about that. And I got to say, I have rewritten the book 20 times over 30 years because dealers that are not willing to rewrite your book and move into the new paradigm, if you're not on the crest of the wave, I don't know if you've ever been on a surfboard and the wave rolled over you.
Jim, I live in California and right on the water. So, yeah, I've done it just a few times.
Yeah, if you're not on the crest of the wave will roll over you.
Yes.
And that is not pleasant. If you've ever been tumbling around inside of one of those, that's what's going to happen here.
Well, often the challenge is from savvy operators who are multi-generational, who've been in the business a long time. I'm celebrating my 28th year in the business this year. And it is irresponsible for me not to recognize that every single day that what got me here will keep me here if I don't continue to reach, stretch, and grow. Okay. So often the question is, we don't know what we don't know. This is from a fellow dealer or a leadership colleague saying, we don't know what we don't know. And that begins the process of saying, well, then I better start looking and I better start getting involved immediately into what does my operation produce. Let's look at from a sales standpoint. How many associates working each and every day? What is their defined plan and objectives for the day? Do I serve and touch them 3-4 times a day, in which to then drive the accountability and the results by the end of the day to say, like, for example, in our organization, create 2 appointments or sell a car and create an appointment. That's a green checkout in our world for the day. What we do not do, Jim, is we don't wait till 7, 8, 9 o'clock and look backwards, frustrated, saying, how many people were here today? Why do we only have, making it up, 4 appointments and there were 7 people working today? You know what motivational program happens at that point. The door gets closed and we know what happens next.
Most car people spend their entire day getting ready to get ready.
Exactly. So what we've done is we've flipped the script on that, Jim. We have 4 one-on-ones a day that last about 3 minutes per associate. 1 at the beginning of the day, 1 between 11 and 1, 1 between 3 and 5, and 1 at the close. That way, throughout the day, we are breaking down into digestible pieces. What have we done for the last 2 hours, 3 hours? How many more phone calls have we made? How many live conversations have we had with consumers? What is the appointment set rate that we have thus far, right? To break that down into those level of pieces allows you the ability to turn very, very quickly in the event that you are off plan.
Well, you know, when I got in the car business in 1976, the game plan was to stand out front till an up came around.
Sure.
And I couldn't believe that. I'd come out of the radio industry. I had been a radio executive, and I was used to knocking on doors and prospecting.
Right.
And today, setting appointments is the modern day prospecting. You know, I know 40, 50 salespeople that make $40,000 a month selling cars.
Right.
And there are all kinds of people, black, white, Hispanic, old, young, men, women. I mean, all kinds of people, urban, suburban, but they all have 2 common commonalities. They reach out in a community and generate their own business, and they manage relationships with past customers.
Correct. They sell Jim, they sell their time, and their time is the resource by which they help their buyers, their guests, their clients, in which to keep moving forward every day. So the example being where we used to have people that would slather on the sunscreen and, you know, down 19 cups of coffee and haul down 3 packs of cigarettes on a point, that is long gone. And the days now are when a modern buyer with the phone in their hand pushes the button and direct connects with you, what are they saying? They're saying, give me what I want and give it to me right now. And so am I going to sell you on what you've already decided on, or am I going to sell my time in which to help you finish what you already started? So when I talk with you, I am very ingratiating as to congratulating you on your purchase, the process by which you've gone to select it. We appreciate the fact that you have chosen us in which to finish it. I have availability today at 4:15 or 5:45. Which of the 2 works best? You know, selling my time in which to help you finish what you've already started.
That's one of the things I teach salespeople that nobody really focuses on. The words, we work by appointment.
Right.
Nobody says that. You know, come on in any old time. I ain't doing shit anyway.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I'm here till 8, Jim. I'll see you when you get here.
Yeah.
How's that going to work? Right.
Wonder what his name was.
Yeah. That's my guy.
Who was that just called you? Mr. Smith.
Right.
Yeah. Right. How do you get in touch with Mr. Smith?
Well, we talk about the importance and the value of the CRM. And as an organization such as ours, going backwards in time, we had the same eye-rolling, shoulder-shrugging opinion of the CRM long, long ago. Okay, it was the place where bad information went to die, right? We flipped the script on that to say it is a living, breathing nucleus of our entire sales operation, and it will be pure every day, all the time. It's why we look at it all day, every single day. It is
I looked at it, and I coined a phrase, Eric, and I coined this phrase about 10 years ago, and it's marry your CRM.
Correct.
I went into Motorworks, which is a big import dealership in the Chicagoland area.
Sure.
You familiar with them?
I am.
500 import units a month, Highlines. They have Mercedes, they have Porsche, they have every Highline brand in one giant building as long as a football field. I mean, big dealership. And when they called me in there, this has been like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, when they called me in there, I didn't know how they were doing $4,500 a unit.
Right.
500 units. I mean, how am I going to improve this process?
Right.
And the first thing I looked at was the CRM. And I asked, I got each one of the managers in with the dealer, and I asked each one of the managers, how do you sell cars? And the Mercedes manager said to me, well, we try to get a demo ride, and we try to do this sometimes. And okay, I got your number, pal. And then, do you have people that don't use the CRM? What processes are in the CRM? And I found out that they had salespeople that were exempt from the CRM and people that had to use it.
Right.
And people that use some fields and people that didn't use all the fields.
Right.
So we had a meeting and we said, we are going to use every field in the CRM, or we're going to take that field out of the CRM.
Correct.
And they were using a proprietary Mercedes CRM at the time. It was a private label for somebody.
Right.
We increased that dealership like $1.5 million in an already super performing environment by legislating and mandating the CRM.
We couldn't agree with you more. In the absence of process and accountability, there is none. Okay. So for us, again, as I shared before, we are in it all day, every single day. And I find it surprising. Let's use average math and say that a singular dealership is a $50 million enterprise. Okay. Going to be ground to its knees by a poor functioning website and or a poor functioning CRM. You cannot value those two elements of our operation anymore. They must be absolutely perfect in that it is the place in which we are going to serve and to attract and to close and to merchandise and to follow up everything within our operations. And so I find it tragic when some people will say, yeah, I sure wish I could get our people to use it.
Well, what gets me is websites. The manufacturers are mandating some of the poorest performing, worst websites in the world, maybe the universe. They have websites on other planets. I mean, I cannot, I tend to think somebody's on the take. And I've said that, manufacturers that dictate their dealers, one of the mandated websites that dealers are mandated to use for one of the major manufacturers, if you go on the back screen and view source, there are 80 blank lines before script starts. Wow. Every one of their dealers. 80 blank lines. You know what that means? That means Google ain't going to bother with this website. Yeah. 80 blank lines, and it's done on purpose to give no dealer in that web an advantage.
Right. Our answer to that, Jim, is that we are the investor and we are 100% responsible. And while we will honor the requirements or the mandates of our manufacturing partners, what we will not do is showcase them as the premier digital retail operation website for us. So, for example, we will take the OEM mandated site and we will place that on a .net URL and all but castrate it, and then place ours as the .com with the high converting, clean glass design that is built and ready to perform the way that we expect that it should.
Load in 3 seconds.
Right. Exactly.
Right. If a website doesn't load in 3 seconds, forget it. I mean, right. We know what we're talking about, and we know probably who we're talking about. I can't name them specifically on the broadcast, but we know who we're talking about. I mean, it's terrible websites that dealers are mandated to use, and I'm telling every dealer, get yourself a second website and make it your primary.
Well, that's why when I made mention before about not having an attraction or an affinity or even a value for the CRM, or in this case, the website, someone will say, well, I don't know that I want to get a second website. And so my response would be, and I'm not going to quote price, but let's say it's somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 a month, I'm just making it up. That the difference between that decision and getting something that will merchandise and capture your buyers and deliver them properly to your teams in which to go to work, and you're going to hold hostage a $50 million enterprise for $2,000 a month.
Exactly.
It just seems asinine. So
I am excited that you are one of the featured speakers. Actually, I've got you in a prime slot, closing the first day.
Well, thank you for that.
Just before the cocktail reception. And not only that, but I gave you, I believe, now let me be sure I did this. I think I gave you an hour instead of 45 minutes.
Okay.
So you'd have ample time, because when I've got the #1 e-dealer in the country on my stage, I want you to share as much as possible with the audience. Now I'm going to do a little commercial here. That's internetbattleplan.com. Hey, Clayton Blevins or Eddie Gilbert, Tim Pillar, one of you guys, in the script on the side of this thing, write www.internetbattleplan.com, so it'll be in the conversation on the sidebar. Internetbattleplan.com. February 12th and 13th, Clearwater, Florida. Teach at the Beach, Part 3. Now, you people up there in Chicago and Minneapolis and New York, hey, you're freezing your ass off. I'm talking February in Florida. What are you thinking? I mean, you're going to go to a Chicago conference? I don't think so. Hey, internetbattleplan.com. Teach at the Beach. 20 expert speakers on stage, Eric. 20.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting, Jim. We certainly look forward to being a part of it, and we're going to bring some very exciting new applications that we've developed, new processes that we've developed, and things that we're ready to share for what will be 2018 and beyond.
So you've got some things you're willing to share with the dealers, processes, and you're going to give the dealer some value they can take back whether they buy anything or not, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're here to share and give back. Our motivation always, Jim, is to inspire 1 mile an hour faster every single day to and for our fellow dealer colleagues. So, we're going to bring some very exciting things that have to do with how we manage our investments, how we target the in-market buyers, and some things that, quite frankly, have to do with what's called PII, personally identifiable information, down to the very specifics of the individual buyers in real time and how we're able to target them directly.
Personally identifiable, very, very, very strong. Okay, now listen, the cocktail reception is going to be right after your presentation. Your presentation ends at 5:30. The cocktail hors d'oeuvres and live band. I have got one of the best local bands, the band Foreplay. What do you hear? The singer sounds like Janis Joplin. They are so good. And 20 speakers, 2 days, dealer principals and general managers attend at no charge. No charge. Just call me. My number is 352-775-2174. You can scroll back in this video and get that number on the replay. That's going to be 352-775-2174. Dealer principals and general managers, no charge. So there's no excuse for you. Even if you don't bring your people, even if you don't bring paid people with you, dealer principals are welcome at no charge. So Erich, tell me more about what you're doing at the Cardinelli Group.
For the last number of years, Jim, the thing that we have focused on the most has been how do we invest our money, okay? When you look at the finite resources that we had coming out of 08 and 09 and into 10, we studied very specifically the amount of money that we invest as dealers into each unit sold. Mm-hmm. For the last number of years, it has hovered in the $600 range, so says NADA in the national forecast. This last year, it's gone up. And our truth is that we are so consumed with following and chasing all the shiny widgets that are going to overcome the fact that in our operations, many times we just don't have the disciplines and the process necessary. And so for us, what we have done is we have continued to invest our dollars into the in-market buyer, into the specific targeting of the man, woman, child, or family who is in market at that moment right now looking for a specific unit. And how we then have weaponized our marketing strategy, therein lies our zero moment or our ZMOT philosophy, right? To be able to target them specifically at the moment that they have postured that they are going to buy. And the byproduct for us in that, Jim, is that when you consider that we are less than a third per unit sold of what the average is, and then multiply that out by the number of locations and units that we sell each month, it is an unfair advantage and produces for us truly amazing returns that allow for us then to invest those into new technologies, into new developments and advancements, a lot of which I'll share in February.
Now, Erich, I know we don't talk grosses. I have a thing about I don't talk gross, and everybody knows that I have a reputation for growing dealerships to the big numbers.
Right.
And the big numbers, I can do some big numbers, and I know you guys are extremely profitable, and I know you keep that conversation at a minimum. But let's talk about profit a little bit, as much as you're comfortable. Tell us about that.
Okay, so we like you, we
got you in the hot seat, big guy.
Yeah, that some things are better left unsaid. However, from an investment standpoint, mm-hmm. If I were to make a blanket statement as a minimum requirement for us, 20% net to gross every single month in and month out for any domestic or volume brand, 27% net to gross and or greater for any European or import luxury brand. And that is without excuse, without exception, every single month. And that is a measure and a metric.
Percent net to gross.
Gross, correct. Net to sales, Jim, is a very subjective number.
Oh, you can manipulate a financial statement. Yes, you can.
But when you get to net to gross, ultimately it says, what is the gross?
It's measurable.
Correct. And that is something that we are very focused on, have been for well over the past 10 years. And that is our scorecard. That is our measure month in and month out, every single store rolled up, as well as the regions and by states. And that is our minimum waterline.
Well, I'm doing a presentation at the event. And it's one I did at Digital Dealer last year. 20 things I would do, 20 changes I would make if I bought your dealership. Mm-hmm. And this conversation is going on right along that, right. One of the first things I do if I bought your dealership is I would fire every vendor and renegotiate one at a time. Just like Donald Trump, I'm going to renegotiate with everybody, right. Because I know people that are paying such a disparity to these vendors. And the vendors have their uses. I mean, right. But not at the price they're charging.
Right.
I know vendors, and since I've talked to literally thousands of dealers in a period of a month, I know there's some dealers in the same town paying $2,000 for the same services that other dealers across town are paying $7,000.
Right.
And identical services, identical market. And some of these vendors are charging one dealer $7,000, and they're charging the dealer across town $2,000 for the same service.
Correct.
I actually own a domain. Remember TrueCar came out with find out what others paid?
Right.
I have a domain. I've never built a website on it, but I own the domain. Find out what other dealers paid.com.
Right. Yeah.
If I ever activate that, it would kill it. But I'm doing that presentation. And
our belief system behind that
Mhm.
is, more often than not, in the complexities of our day, we are always focused on four letters that I think put our head in the wrong perspective, and that's cost. Okay. How much does it cost? Right. I have an immediate opinion one way or the other. I either like the way it sounds or I don't like the way it sounds. Or we are then presented with the new magic bean, shiny widget, whatever the case may be. And it's always then predicated by, if you just sell X number of cars, you can pay for it. That doesn't work in our mentality.
Units. Yeah.
Right. What we believe is that everything that we do, either capital, resources, okay, or some combination therein, is an investment. And therefore, it must have a return. I could not agree with you more that if I look at the investment per month of a particular supplier, vendor, partner provided solution, and it does not math for me, it has to go, period. There's just no question about it. And so I always find that when you look over the entirety of a statement, you can find the things in there that are the very expensive security blanket, right? From a decade gone past, that it's time to let them go.
I'm not just talking about your lead providers and your CRM providers. I'm talking about your uniform providers. I'm talking about every vendor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what, lately there has been this bogus argument of influence and attribution.
Right.
Now, Google Analytics is the only measurement.
Right.
I mean, it's the only measurement. These people coming in, well, we influenced 76% of your sales. No, you didn't.
Right. Right.
Yeah. They got to justify their ROI, which is what you're saying.
Correct. And our belief, at some point, you have to take away all the myriad of confusing pieces and parts and percentages of this. We drill it all the way down to one very specific measure. If it's inside the CRM and carries a particular source, that is the attribution. I recognize that there's other pieces and parts along the way. That's our responsibility to link them together. But ultimately, and you know that you and I both share a particular distaste for just some of the media partners, air quotes, that exist out in the world for a tremendous amount of money every month. And the truth of it is, if I invest $3,000, $5,000, $15,000, and I get 3 phone calls, 2 form fills, and a PDF chart that tells me that 87% of the buyers just walk in, that's never going to work for us.
No. Buyers are bypassing the lead providers more and more, and dealers are generating. I'm going to tell you what, even Google AdWords is not as powerful as the medium we are on right now, Facebook.
Correct.
I mean,
yeah, we are, Jim, we are blessed to be the Facebook North America, the automotive marketing partner for 2017 and 2018. There's a white paper study that we've worked on collectively with them throughout a study in 2016 that preeminated this. And Jim, we sold thousands of cars inside of those platforms within the study period, Jim. And the investment was about $58 a unit, all in, all done. And
time out. Mary, I misheard you. I thought you said $58 a unit.
I did.
No,
all in, all done.
Say it again.
$58 per unit sold.
Oh, no, you meant like $580.
No.
Incredible.
I couldn't agree with you more. The demographics, the style and communication preferences of our buyers, regardless of age, have become such where the immediacy, the direct action ability to push one button and to activate what I want right now, right, has and continues to shift. And it's a place that we must be focused on.
Let me ask you, how do people get in touch with you or somebody on your executive staff to find out more about this?
Well, any dealers that have questions ever, you can always reach out to me directly. My email address.
You're that accessible. You're the CEO of this 19 dealership, incredible company, and you're that accessible.
Jim, when we were blessed with our second lease on life, it was not that we woke up smart. What we came out with was humility and an appreciation to be able to ask for help. And there are amazing dealers that helped us back when. And we believe in the blessing of service. And so absolutely, yes. By whatever additional investment of time that we commit as a group every single week, we are always open and accessible to be able to help our fellow dealers throughout the U.S. and Canada. So to answer your question, how you would get a hold of me would be my email address directly is egail@cardinelli-group.com.
Yes, egail at
Cardinelli, CARDINALE -group.com.
Okay, I just put it in the sidebar. And you're on Facebook. Now, by the way, Erich is spelled E-R-I-C-H.
Correct.
Not E-R-I-C. E-R-I-C-H. And the letter K, Gail, on Facebook.
Correct.
Very good. I'm looking forward to your presentation at Internet Battle Plan, and we still got room for some signups. Now, anybody that is thinking about coming, you can call me or you can go to the website, internetbattleplan.com. It's on the sidebar. Erich, this broadcast will probably get 2,000 views in the afterlife. I mean, we've had a track record where a lot of people are looking at this. I'm impressed that you came on with me. Thank you so much.
Jim, it's always a pleasure. You're a wonderful partner and a dear friend. Give our best, please, to Debbie, and thank you for having me on. I look forward to seeing you in February.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Very few people could have had the conversation you and I just had. There's a lot of people that would like to have this conversation, but they're far from qualified. Hey, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Jim. Anytime. Thank you.
Bye-bye.